Welcome to the Troupe de Poetry's performance of the fall event at the Vancouver Outsiders Artist Festival. Fall envelops many things, from the weather to Halloween and shorter days to other things like the beginning of school and time change. We would like to share our poetry with you and take you on a journey of the season of fall thoughts as we present the fall event at the Vancouver Outsiders Artist Festival. And now I'd like to introduce the poets, and then we'll get started. My name is Karen, and I'm your host for today's show. Here are the poets. We have Pam, Allan, Angelica, Stefania, and Julie. Okay, let's get started.
With Halloween approaching and the emphasis in schools being placed on accepting people for who they are, I began thinking of how a ghost might long for acceptance. That inspired this poem. Miranda's Halloween. Silently she waited, counting down the days, watching preparations, starting with a large corn maze. Listening to the children heading down the street, walking to the school grounds on almost dancing feet. Planning out their costumes, they seemed unaware. She was always watching. They never saw her there. Wishing she could join them, soon her day would come. Then she'd run beside them. She would not feel numb. With the fear of judgment, she would just fit in with all those passing children creating such a din. Every year this one day she enjoyed the most, when people saw a costume, not a scary ghost.
From a Bowman to a knight. Sir William Marshall is the most famous of all the medieval knights. He made a fortune on the tournament circuit. He served under 5 different kings of England in his lifetime. He was knighted in the fall of 1166 AD in the reign of King Henry II of England. This is a fanciful tale of his life. Listen to the crackling fire and smell the muslin bread of millet flour. The thick smoke rises in the great hall, and the rancid food tastes foul. Spears and shields surround the mighty throne of power. Shadows play on the royal court, often the wine is sour. On the royal estate, the young Bowman braved the hunt. The sheriff's men set a trap to snare young William from the Shire. The clever Bowman slipped away, though the men were the best of hire. Through the woods the Bowman fled and hid with his friend the friar. He bathed his body, cut his locks, and changed into his new attire. He dressed in shades of blue and set forth out of the Shire. He found some stabled horses, and on one the emblem of fire. He saw that crest on a shield in the field and approached to inquire. Sir John lamented, his aid had passed, and he was in need of a capable squire. Then one day on the battlefield, Sir John did fall, and he received a grievous wound. With utter prowess, William saved that knight that was most likely doomed. For his reward in the field, he was dubbed the knight. Sir William showed to all just how skillfully he could fight. With trumpets blaring and townfolk staring, all the royal court relished their noisy victory parade. The charges against that young William were then officially stayed.
Food is an integral part of any celebration, and in my family, pumpkin pie makes Thanksgiving and Halloween. Without it, it's not considered a proper celebration. This is called pumpkin pie. Your delectable, comfortable fragrance permeates our home, penetrating every nook and cranny and tantalizing our curious senses. Like the maestro who inspires profound emotions and evokes marvelous melodies with his baton, the seasoned baker composes a culinary symphony with exciting rhythms, combining exotic notes, echoes from the songs of faraway places in the distant Orient. The sweetness of cinnamon powder, rich brown like the inner tree bark from where it is harvested, the slightly spicy note of nutmeg gathered from the seeds sheltered by the torso of the tropical evergreen tree, and a quarter pinch of aromatic cloves concealed in delicate flower buds, harmonized with swirls of amber maple syrup, born of the sap hidden in the heart of the sturdy maple tree, to combine with measures of golden brown sugar and creamy condensed milk, courtesy of local cows, joining the bright orange pumpkin puree, the color of a stunning evening sunset. This carefully crafted ensemble culminates in a glorious concerto. The oven is warm and welcoming, caring for you as tenderly as a mother would her child, while we salivate. In our eager waiting mouths, a puddle of moistness forms, and we anticipate our luscious treat with glee. It is time for the final movement. You are crowned with a fluffy cloud of whipping cream. Our senses absorb every heavenly texture and tone as you are quickly devoured. Still, the wonderful memory of our sublime encounter lingers long after you are gone. Thank you.
This poem is called Full Bloom. I watch the leaves trickle down from the trees, tinged brown, summer kissing nature goodbye. They flutter in an ecstatic dance, knowing their time in the sun is coming to a close. Soon, winter will be here. The cold will wrap around like an embrace, and I will retreat in. I am not sad to bid summer adieu, for I am changing with the seasons too. Shedding layers of self to the bare bones, like the limbs on the trees, and I am content in knowing the sun will warm me to my roots once more. But now it is time for slumber, to rest into the earth until the spring rain coaxes me back to life. Once again, I will be reborn, and I will learn all over again what it means to be alive. Softly, tenderly, quiet, with a gentle grace. If I could scoop up the leaves and hold them to my being, I wonder what they would say about their journey to the ground. Would they exclaim reverently about their view from up high? How the world melted like dancing colors in their final exalt from their place of bloom? Or would they simply whisper, I must wait? It will be time to fall again, but now we must wait, trusting in the process, knowing that we will be in full bloom once more.
This is another poem about fall. Fall is falling is the name of this poem. Fall is falling all around as leaves are tumbling to the ground. When there's a cold bite in the air and sun shines brightly everywhere, we get a rare but treasured treat, crunchy music played by our feet. Sweep them quickly as they blow before they're weighted down with snow. Collect them now while it's still light, as standard time turns day to night. Collect them now while they're still light. Rain's common in the BC night. Then light and crunchy will turn to sog, and collecting them will be a slog.
Okay, so I got a little jaunt here. It's called Ichabod's Ride. We all know Ichabod. He's from, yeah. There once was a long and lanky fellow that came to the town of Sleepy Hollow. With his nose in a book, he was often mistook for a misfooted dork who did very little work. One night on Hallowe's Eve, he found the party he couldn't leave, because a tale had been woven about the hooves cloven by the horse of the local headless horseman. Shuddering and shaking, and suddenly mistaking a shadow on the wall that seemed very tall, for the man with no head, he cringed in dread. As the crowd dispersed, he loudly rehearsed a whistling tune he would sing to the moon on his old nag from which his feet dragged. He flinched as they went. Going home was what was meant. The moon hid behind a cloud, and the nag's hoofprints were loud as the shadows danced in the moonlight. He pursed his lips tight and gingerly looked behind him. There, silhouetted against the sky, was the horseman. Ick gave a cry. Ichabod was not brave. He thought his only thought was for himself to save. His nag must have sensed it. It was though a fire was lit. They ran and they ran across the land till they came to a bridge. It was as cold as a fridge when Ichabod crossed. Many thought him lost when he did not return after the big bridge burned. All that remained was a pumpkin's shattered brains, and that was the guide to Ichabod's Ride, which we confess was quite a mess.
It. In the darkness, it slowly slithered forward, but still behind the cupboard door. It had scaly green skin that smelled of rotten cabbage, and it left a gooey trail on the floor. Its eyes were red and golden pupils that hypnotized and filled its prey with fear. Yellowed fangs and jagged teeth jutted out of his mouth as he had an evil sneer. On the other side of that cupboard door, a little girl just slept alone. She half awoke to the sound of the creature as it began to moan. The putrid smell of rotten cabbage was filling up the room. The young girl laid there in the bed as if she was encased in a deathly tomb. Persistent sounds then ensued, but she did not stir or wake. With a creak, the door swung open, and the hideous thing slipped into the room. Slowly it slithered towards the bed. The heavy air was filled with impending doom. It crept up under the blankets and curled up around the girl all the way to her head. It began to crush the life right out of that girl, and before long she was nearly dead. Just in time, the girl awoke and let out a trembling scream. She opened up her eyes in panic, but it was all just a dream.
I grew up on a street in Montreal that had lots of big trees, and I used to love walking down the street in autumn because of the colors. So this is evolved from that and is called Autumn Walk. Etched against the morning sky, a vibrant canopy of colors, offering shelter without judgment and peace without prejudice. Vivid ruby reds like a brilliant sunset, soft greens like the luscious blades of emerald grasses in a meadow, golden topaz yellows and shades of rich brown amber hues inspire, a visual banquet to behold.
The fall air is crisp and light, cupping my face in cool hands, stilling the turbulence of my thoughts. The earth is tender and moist, still dank from yesterday's rain. Foliage clad in a lustrous sheen blankets the ground, soft and damp to the touch. As I stroll on, the leaves are falling, floating, fluttering, mixing and mingling, creating a glorious kaleidoscope of shades, laughing with joyous abandon and giggling in my ear before dancing to their death until a triumphant return in spring. Thank you.
This one is called Sweet Slow Love. Hello, my sweet slow love. Time kisses me gently on the cheek, like a tulip kisses the freshness of freedom, budding from the soil with tenderness, an appreciation for the process. I've learned to surrender to time's caress, for it is not my job to tell the earth when I would like to sprout. I am content here. I nestle into the darkness of my home, into the burrows that know me deeply, roots stretching into the ground like an embrace. No competition, just acceptance, held gently by the ultimate mother. Life source hands on my back, rubbing circles of soothing promises, whispers and lullabies. I no longer yearn to kiss the sun, for now I drink in the light of the moon deeply and watch as diamonds pepper across the ink blot. And I wonder, who else is sending their dreams to the stars? Perhaps they will travel like companions, searching for a landing strip to plant our deepest desires. I wait patiently for their blossom, germinating, roots sinking deeper, connecting, entangled with the knowing that I will one day taste the sweet honey of the sun in all her glory. But for now, I appreciate the sweet, slow love.
I write reminiscing poetry called The Rhymes of Times, and this is one of them. So I'm hoping that this will bring you back in time to your Halloween experiences. This is called The Ghosts of Halloween Past. Halloween nights were crispy, clear, and cold, rainy and wet, or foggy and gray. Darkness crept in early. Daylight savings time had passed away. Our teachers would set us up to work on mood art leading up to Candy Day. Turkeys, cornucopias of fruit, and brightly colored maple leaves were put away. Orange construction paper pumpkins with grotesque cutout features, black silhouetted witches riding on brooms, arch-backed black cats, and other scary creatures. Decorated windows and hung from strings about the room. Excitedly, we'd rummage up the costumes we'd wear soon. Most made their costumes up from things the family had, heavily relying on the closets of their mom and dad. To protect them from the cold, young children wore a snowsuit without fail, with the addition of ears and whiskers and a long braided wool or short pom-pom tail. We pick our own pumpkins from the garden patch in our backyard, carefully separating out the seeds for roasting from that slimy inner discard. Then we'd carve our jack-o'-lantern to decorate our front porch, lastly inserting the finishing touch, the candle to later torch. Firecrackers and sparklers form part of every Halloween scene, but unfortunately, every school had a few kids that were mean. While most kids threw their firecrackers on the ground or in the air, there was always a few who'd throw them at you, which would give you quite a scare. This trick-or-treating business was a very serious job. We'd visit every house, no matter how deep the yard. The object was to fill your pillowcase, as the opportunity came but once per year. As we'd empty our goodie bags and sort our loot, exclamations you would hear. The ends of black and orange candy wrappers twisted around the large pile of sticky brown molasses kisses. Homemade popcorn balls, fudge, and a stack of fruit. Caramels and peanuts in the shell were components of our loot. Some kids carried soap to draw on windows or a car, but just like today, some kids' tricks went far too far. Like moving an outhouse back from its pit, so the unsuspecting occupant would fall into it. When we'd finished trick-or-treating, we'd often go to my cousin's on Capitol Hill, where we could watch the fireworks display below us without getting a cold chill. My aunt would even treat us to her frothy homemade root beer. Consequently, all in all, we loved Halloween each year. I hope that brought you back in time.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for the fall event at the Vancouver Outsiders Artist Festival. We hope you've enjoyed the show today, and we also hope that you will join us for future events in the Vancouver Lower Mainland. Thank you again, and have a wonderful fall season. Good afternoon from all of us. Stay safe.